video coming up is not paid or sponsored by Vegepod. It's merely my account of how I built the medium Vegepod system, any issues that I encountered, and hopefully some tips as well for any prospective new buyers in the future. I did film it over a period of 3 days for various reasons, but I reckon left uninterrupted you could do it around about an hour or maybe a bit more. I did film it in 3 sections, starting with the frame, then the Vegepod unit, and finally finishing off with the lid and the mesh top. I will put a timeline below it in the notes so you can actually jump to the relative sections if you want to. After almost a year, I finally got round to constructing the Vegepod. I bought this originally in Malvern Spring Show 2019. It comprises of 2 parts. There's the main Vegepod, and below we've got the stand. It comes in 3 sizes. There's a small, which is roughly 1 metre by half growing area, the medium, which is 1 metre by 1 metre, and the large one, which is 2 metre by 1 metre. So we'll open the box. First of all, we'll be looking at the stand. I'll show you what we've got as we come out of the box. We've got the angle cross braces, 2 of them, and they've got extra holes in the back if you notice. Then we've got another 2 plain angle cross braces. In the middle we've got the 4 legs with the plastic stoppers. 2 cross brace tubes, and then 4 corner braces there. Finishing it off, we've got all the screws and bolts necessary to bolt it all together, and finally a set of instructions. For the start of the build, we need 2 angled cross braces with extra holes, 2 cross brace tubes, and 4 medium bolts together with the nuts. I would recommend using a flat surface for the build. This table proved particularly useful because it allowed the cross brace tubes to overhang the edge, which made inserting the bolts through the angled cross brace much easier. For the initial assembly of all the parts, the nuts need only be finger tight. Once the first edge is fixed, it's just a matter of rotating it 180 degrees and repeating the process. For the next stage, we will need the 4 corner braces together with 8 short nuts and bolts. Make sure that the longer side of the corner brace is pointing upwards. We're actually building the stand upside down. And again, just finger tighten the nuts. Repeat this sequence for all 4 corners. Next, we need to fit the remaining 2 long angle cross braces, and again we will need 8 short nuts and bolts. Found it easier to offer the cross brace into position and then rotate it 90 degrees. This allowed it to pass under the existing nut heads. It's just a matter then of fixing the nuts and bolts finger tight, rotating 180 degrees and repeating the process. Now it's time to fit the forelegs, and for this we will need 8 long bolts together with the nuts. Because the clearance holes in the legs are staggered, you may need to rotate the legs 90 degrees in order to line the holes up to match those in the corner braces. Remember to always have the heads of the nuts facing inwards of the build. Now the base is fully assembled, place it on a flat level surface and go around and tighten the bolts up with the Allen key provided. Final job is to put these plastic protective feet in. Can be a bit firm, either use a little hammer to tap them in or a bit of brute force usually gets them in. This is the medium Vegepod, and the two pods together hold 220 litres of compost, and it's a footprint of 1 metre square. The first box that I took out from the top contains the frame lid assembly. However, looking inside here, there's quite a few unusual bits that I don't recognise, but fortunately we've got a comprehensive list of parts, so I'm going to empty the box completely and first of all check it off against the list. Right here we got there's 2 base containers, then we've got some side panels and side joiners. There's some already pre-built along here. We've got the corner connectors there, there's some drain trays, a little rubber joining strip, there's support brackets, and in this bag we've got some joining clips, some bolts, wing nuts, and even a few cables. With the medium pod being a square design, these units will actually fit on the frame in 2 directions. That way. And that way. For me, this is the best way because you've got maximum support all the way along this edge. Looking inside the pod, it's worth noting that the one end of the reservoir is completely blank, yet the opposite end there contains a hole which acts as an overflow. So it's worth considering this when positioning the tank, which way you want the water to flow out, any excess. And this capacity of the reservoir is 16 litres. With the 2 pods in position, it's worth just a second check that your drain holes are both facing in the right direction. With With a rubber joining strip in place, you've now got 4 joining clips. There's 6 holes along here. Do not use the extreme end ones. It's the 4 in the centre that you have to fit the clips. This retains the 2 pods together. Because on the medium Vegepod the sides are square, we've already got 2 edges made up, so the other 2 are going to be exactly the same. So I thought it easier to leave these here and copy the build. This is the one that is pre-built out of the box, and if you look along the bottom there's a lip continuing right way along. However, on the medium pod the 2 remaining joining panels don't have a lip. And while we've got the panel off, it's well worth noting these 2 little arms here. These are the releasing clips. That's if you want to disassemble the Vegepod later, sometimes to move it or clean it. So, with 2 side panels and a joining panel, it's a matter of copying this one. When joining the parts, you might feel a little bit tight at first, but the plastic will actually spring if you apply pressure. Before assembling the drain tray, it's well worth checking that the drainage holes are clear. Where these come out the injection mould, sometimes they'll leave a little bit of excess plastic which can affect the effectiveness of the capillary action. Those 2 there are clear. If I just turn around here, you might see there's still a bit of surplus. With a couple of seconds with a craft knife and you can easily clear that. Another job we can do while we've got a flat surface is there's 3 drain trays fitting each pod, and they're joined together using zip ties or cable ties. So, with the lips of the side panels facing downwards, it's time to start the build. There are 2 lengths of bolts and wing nuts in the kit. Nearly all the smaller ones. Best advice, one's in the bag, the long ones, leave them there to the very last so you don't get them mixed up. The smaller ones are used for fixing the fence all the way around the pod. With the side panels in place now, it may be worth just getting some bolts, not using the wing nuts, and just popping those through the panels, and that then will help support them while you fit the 4 corner pieces. So now it's time to fit the 4 corner pieces. This is a little bit tight and they are springy. That is intentional to pull the 2 sides together. Time to fit the support brackets. You may remember earlier, two of the sides had a little notch cut out, which is where the two pods join. So this is where the support brackets fit. Underneath this edge here, there's two little tongues which fit into the top of this bracket. So just place that underneath, push it up, and the bracket fits down, ready to receive two bolts. So with the support brackets in place, it's just a matter of fitting those long bolts, the one we kept in the plastic bag. Them are the ones we need to go into here. With the support brackets in place now, we can continue to go around fitting the bolts, and once all the bolts are through, then tighten up the wing nuts. And to complete the build, all we need to do is to put the drain trays in place. Just one other thing, I almost forgot, the most important part of the build, the stickers. I'm going to start constructing the Vegepod cover. There's a word of warning on the front of here saying that if you open it with a craft knife, be very careful because the mesh of the cover is just underneath. So this is the kit as it appears out of the box. We've got the poles, the arches, the brackets for the joints, the corners and the T-pieces. Inside this bag here we've got cable ties, hinge clips, ratchet clips and even some string. Last but not least, we have the cover. I'm going to start by building the ends. For this you need two curved pieces and a T-piece. Each of these poles have got numbers on which correspond to the instructions, and they do state that the straight part needs to be down and the curved part is where the T-piece joins. Recommended do it on a flat surface, then it's easier to get things lined up. So that's in position now, just build the opposite end exactly the same. Next we'll build the base of the pod, and for that you need 4 poles and 4 corner pieces. It's just a matter of joining the 2 poles into a corner with 1 piece sticking up. With the base built, you might have to do a little twist just to flatten it. That's why it's important to do it on a flat surface. So once that's done, get your arch, push it into each corner. Before fixing the opposite hoop end, I'd recommend putting the ridge pole in and just turn the whole unit round. Fixing this arch end, put the centre pole in, got quite a bit of movement in, push that in and then fix the corner. That's the frame built. Next we're going to fit the misting system onto the ridge. As it comes out the box, you may find it a little bit curved. You can actually gently ease it like this, but if you find it's not going, just pour a little bit of warm water inside and you'll find that will make it more pliable. The misting irrigation system comes in two parts. You have the pipe with the mist heads on, then you got this other one here with the connector where you fit your hose water supply. Now the instructions recommend fitting the two parts together before assembly onto the unit, but personally I'd recommend just fitting this and then fit this part after the cover is fitted. When fitting the misting pipe, make sure it's completely inside the old frame and just loosely fix each end with the cable tie. With the misting pipe in position at both ends, fix cable tie each side of the misting head. Make sure that it's pointing completely downwards. Once that's sorted, just tighten the cable ties. It's worth mentioning also, just twist the cable tie so that the ratchet head is below the surface so it doesn't interfere with the cover. So now we come to the exciting part, fitting the cover. Bear in mind which way the elbow joint is here, because on the cover, the one side there will be a reinforced piece where the pipe feed actually comes through. And there it is. Well, I must admit, I did find that a bit of a struggle. The cover is extremely tight, but that's what you want. However, I did find that by undoing the Velcro all the way around the cover, it did make fitting to the frame a lot easier. So now, pull the frame and cover tight. Make sure that the seams run completely around the frame, and then start folding the Velcro back over. There is a retaining cord included in the kit, and this is to stop the lid falling too far back. That would probably lift the lid out of the hinges completely, so before you seal all the Velcro around the frame, it is well worth attaching the one end. So with the cover fully fitted now, it's time to fit the feed pipe. And you might remember from earlier we said there was a little reinforced panel on the side, so that's easier now to thread this through with no fitting on. It's worth mentioning that when you're fitting this onto the barbed end of the misting pipe, this may be a little bit tight, so it's quite acceptable to get a cup of fairly hot water and put about the first half inch of the pipe in, leave it in for 30 seconds, and what that'll do is make the end more pliable and you'll find it'll easily push over the barb. Also, you can add some washing up liquid on and that will also increase the ease of pushing it on. Once you've pushed the pipe through the frame netting, there is a little ratchet connector included in the kit, and that there needs to be put onto the pipe before you attach it to the elbow connector inside the frame. The final part of the build is to fit the hinge clips. Now there's 6 of these included in the medium Vegepod kit. Depends on what configuration you choose, but I'm going to have 4 on the back to act as the actual hinge, and 2 at the front to retain the lid when it's closed. There's blanking plates all the way around the side fence, so it's just a matter of removing which ones you need to. These push out and just replace them with the hinge clip. When you pull it in, it is quite tight, but it will snap in position, and that's good and whole. That's the 4 hinge clips in position on the back, and on the front I've used the 2 extreme ends. So it's just a matter now of popping the cover into place. One more thing I forgot, don't forget to attach the string. So that's the Vegepod medium sized build finished.